the I Shoulda Did More Reading podcast. I shoulda did more reading.com may or may not work. I broke it 3 weeks ago and haven't done anything to fix it. And so you probably can buy the web domain. I was just talking to Joey Carroll about this as well. It's probably available. We are. I am Tom Shattuck. I'm here with my friend Jay.
Good day.
And Joey Carroll is joining us. Comedian Joey Carroll is a funny bastard and just an all-around good guy.
Stop it.
Wait a second. Did you say that to Paul last week?
Paul? No, Paul is not a good guy. D'Angelo is not.
You mean the attorney?
That's right. Paul is a great guy, by the way. And that was last week. We had a great time. And find Joey Carroll at funnyjoey.com on Twitter. And this is a must-follow on Twitter, at TVS Joey Carroll, like Joe Carroll, at TV's Joe Carroll, in other words. Anyway, we'll tweet all this stuff out and you'll get it. You'll figure it out. Joe, welcome.
It's good to be here.
Thrilled to have you,
great
man.
to be here.
You managed to navigate South Boston without a problem and find a parking space?
Yeah. I've learned when you see one, you take it.
So, where, especially now, since like Steve Sweeney calls this area Dubai. And he's totally right. I mean,
Absolutely.
Can you imagine somebody going to the can in like 1998 and getting out and dropping them out of a cab over here? And you go, I'm going to drop you off in South Boston. You go, someone played a horrible joke on me.
Yeah. I mean, how would you know? How could you identify this as being Boston?
No.
And there's no way. There's no landmark. That's why we need that gondola. They're the one to have the gondola.
Yeah, just like the one they have down in Atlantic City. Remember they had the tram they put in? When they sold that story?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we're gonna put in a tram system. It's gonna be awesome. They have trams to take you from place to place. And
that didn't happen.
It didn't pan out.
So I missed the whole Atlantic City thing. I went there about 3 years ago, and I was stupid. I mean, I was at this function in Washington D.C., and I figured, well, but New Jersey's between DC and home. I'll just go to Atlantic City, and I found like a Priceline room like $40, and it's not between here and home. Atlantic City is
directly east.
So I stayed at the Trumpetage.
Oh,
yeah, and this is at a time when his campaign, a young campaign, had just attacked me in an email. Hope Hicks, his communications person at that time, when the campaign was just starting, wrote me a scathing email. Was really salty. It was very funny.
Wow.
I had written a column that slammed Trump for being all the things that people call him, circus act, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was very. Now I look at the column and say that's so full of cliches. I wish whatever. So I slammed him back then, and then I invited him onto the radio. And Hope Hicks wrote a note, said, "Tom, I'm really thrilled that you're invited us on, and we're going to be in your area soon, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to make it." And she had a link to my column.
Oh,
yeah, which tells you the vindictive way that the campaign, that was an FU. And so the women I work with, Jacqueline Cashman and Hillary Chabot, thought it was hilarious, and they reached out to Hope Hicks and said that we love what you did to our fat boss, and so they brought him on, and Trump slammed me too.
Oh, that's great.
But you love it though, just the same, don't you?
Oh, please! I'll take anything as long as it says the name. I was all for it.
Yeah, my father hit me. I know he loves me.
Right? Yeah. No, there's some kind of wiring problem there. Definitely. So, Joey, where are you from?
I grew up, believe it or not, in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Is this Harvard Square, Cambridge, or
River Street, Cambridge, where people had jobs and went to work every day?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we weren't protesting even back then.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that East Cambridge? Whereabouts is that?
No, Central Square.
Oh, okay.
Central Square.
Okay. All right.
Western Ave was...
you remember the Western Front,
The
Jay?
Western Front used to be one of my favorite hangouts back in the 90s.
Great. Yeah, well, that was the first place I ever heard of somebody coming in with an Uzi and actually shooting.
Yeah, that's why it was such a great place.
Oh, my God. We had after-hours joints over there that ran all night long. It was like living in a 70s blaxploitation movie. It was awesome.
It was a great spot.
I still have my leather jacket with the fur. It's amazing. I swear to God, I'm not making this up.
So you went there then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
I loved it. It was a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
Great place.
Yeah, in Central Square, if people don't know, it is not like Harvard Square. It is somewhere where you could still get stabbed if you...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And let me tell you something. Old habits die hard about Central Square. I mean, there's just things.
He's pulling out a switchblade as we speak.
We're going to have to take a picture of that later. Is that a switchblade or a stiletto?
No, it's a spring-assisted knife.
Oh, right.
That's
It's not legal in Baltimore.
That's right. Switchblades would be illegal. spring-assisted knives. There are a lot of spring-assisted knives in Central Square still. So the Central Square, they've got that. There's an awesome Black Baptist church where you can hear all the singing on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
And it bellows through Central Square. Is that still there?
The Bishop Allen Drive,
Is that
I believe.
what that
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've gone to. There was another one up by St. Mary's, up off of Prospect Street, a black church, and I went to a funeral. It was like July or August, and everyone had paper fans, and people were passing out from the heat.
Geez.
Because also it's a marathon.
Yeah,
it's not the 40-yard dash. If the funeral in a black church is a long process, and they have ambulance out front to get people with the heat exhaustion. So it was crazy.
Wow.
But the music, and I'll tell you something. You go to a funeral in a black church, it's a celebration of life. They do it upright. It's amazing.
I like that approach better than
you walk
the
out of there and you're smiling, you're laughing. No one's crying. They're singing. It's awesome.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. So Central Square also has it's one of the last remaining places with original music.
Yeah.
You had TT's. Is that gone?
TT's is gone. It's now. There's something else over there now.
There was the Middle East TT's, the
Middle
Plow and
East is-
Stars.
The Middle East is
Not
still.
the Plow and Stars. Yeah, the Plow and Stars. No, is it the
Plow and
Plow and
Stars.
Stars is towards Harvard, between Harvard and
okay.
Central. Yeah.
Okay, and all sorts of little places. Did you go?
Yeah.
Were you able to get into these places?
When I grew up, it was Jack's on Mass Ave. Phenomenal. The bands that were in there were just fantastic. Jonathan Swift's and Harvard parties. My God, you would see the Cars playing a Harvard party. I
excellent.
mean, those kids studied really hard all week long, and on the weekends, my God, they knew how to let it go.
Yeah. Oh, that's
it was
great.
Amazing.
So
you sort of blended into those parties? Did you?
Yeah. I must have been an early acceptance. You know what I mean? A 15-year-old kid at a Harvard party, tending bar. It's like, hey, what's up, buddy?
Nice.
So what did your parents do? What did your dad do for a
My
living?
father was a Teamster, drove a truck, and that was his full-time job, and he worked part-time as an alcoholic, which was the time he wasn't driving the truck. He was at his other labor of love.
It was an internship,
and my
though,
mother
right?
was just busy taking care of us. We were a handful.
How many of you?
I'm white trash, so we've got 3 families.
You're
We've
in good
got
company here.
My mother's side, so she had, there were 3 before she met my father. My father had, what was it? 4 before he met my mother. Then they got together and decided to have 2.
Like the All-Star game.
So I'm still a little confused. It's like AFC, NFC, and then, the All-Stars for me and Jack. But it was, so it was like 9 of us all together in the whole scheme of things. And I grew up with my mother's side of the family. I didn't meet my brothers and sisters from my father's side of the family until I was like 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Because they live far away in Everett. And you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. It's like, are you kidding me? What? I could take my bike there, which I did. It was like, you're kidding me. Yeah. You got other family.
Yeah.
When are you going to tell me this?
And so did you go to Cambridge?
I went to Cambridge Public Schools for grammar school. Then after 5th grade, I went into a program they called Academically Talented. Instead of a double promotion, they put us in like a fishbowl with all the smart kids and thought that they were going to develop these really creative, smart, talented kids. And we terrorized people. We were smart, but in a lot of ways we were too smart for our own good. It was just, they put us together.
Why would
like
you want to waste smarts on algebra?
This little syndicate in the Harrington school. It was just like, we'll get out of trouble. Watch this. Just watch this. It was amazing. But I went there for 6th, 7th, and 8th, and the kids from my class were all going to like Phillips, Andover, and they were going to these great schools. I went to BC High. I went for 2 years, and then they threw me out. They had enough of my stuff.
So were you what kind of kid? What kind of?
I was a truant. I was very smart, but I didn't like taking. You
got expelled then.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they didn't just show me the door. They explained how it worked. They said, "You shut that behind you and make sure it's locked. You will not be back here, young fella." But I wanted to be with my friends. My friends were all at Regent Latin having fun, and I was at BC High with a bunch of guys. It was just like, yeah, it was tough for me, man.
Where'd you go after you got kicked out?
I went to Regent Latin. and we like the first
So you got your way.
combined. Yeah, I got my way, and if I had it to do over again, I probably would have stayed at BC High. I did like a lot of the stuff that was there.
That's
like
a prestigious
the education
school too,
part.
right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've turned out lots of generals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lots of generals. But plus the Speaker of the House there.
How many comedians did they?
I think it's me, but also Dennis Lehane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Dennis at one of his book signings, and I was shooting the breeze with him, and we were talking about Father Bennett. Father Bennett ran the program called Jug, and Jug was like, if you were bad, they'd put you in the Jug. It was like after school, you'd have to go there and spend an hour and feel bad and not do anything prosperous, and that was it. So I learned early on that if you skipped going to Jug, you'd get suspended. Well, that's to me, that's time off with pay. You know what I mean?
It's springtime.
I was a math guy. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm going to sacrifice an hour a day of my time, or they're going to give me 3. I learned to negotiate at a very young age. I was really good at this. But I was talking to Dennis about it, and I said, at one point, I was in the hospital, and Father Bennett was coming up to visit me. This is after I'd been thrown out of the school for years and everything. Yeah. I always stayed in contact with Father Bennett. He's just a great guy. He tracked me down at my house. We didn't have a phone, so that gave me carte blanche to be a delinquent. So, because they would send a note home with me, and I'd sign it and bring it back.
So, you want me to sign this here in front of you, or should I pretend that I'm bringing it home?
So I come home from a day of being like a number one, riding the rails while hooking school. Would just jump on the trains and meet a couple of other ne'er-do-wells, and we'd go out to Quincy, would jump off at Adams, walk around, get back on the train, and just bum around and go to museums. And we lived a really good life skipping school. And I come home, and my mother goes, how was school today? I went, this is a typical day. And she goes, Father Bennett stopped by. I was like, what? I could have done a Depends commercial at that point. It was like, and he had shown up at the house, and he had a stack of notes for absences. And here's the best part. Some of them were signed by my mother. Some of them were signed by me. Yeah. Some of them, neither one of them could figure out. They went, he got better. He got really better at doing this. That got me in trouble, and I got back into school, and I buckled down for a little bit, but then fishing season came up, and I was gone for 3 weeks in a row.
What came up?
Fishing.
Oh, fishing season.
Spring.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Spring came up, and it's like, I want to go fishing. So
fishing freshwater or saltwater?
Freshwater. Yeah.
Where around here were you fishing?
We'd go to the Charles. We'd go up to Watertown Square. I mean, what
did you catch in the Charles?
Not much, carp
Disease.
and fish with big black tumors on the side.
I know that.
I mean, back then, it was, think about this, is like late 70s.
Oh yeah,
you weren't eating anything. You were going just for sport. But
this is W.R. Grace's heyday.
Where I worked in high school, by the way.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. It's a small world. I remember running through a cloud from one building to another.
Tell me what W.R. Grace is.
Oh, it's a chemical company.
Oh, okay. They were famous for dumping.
They made roofing products and bad water and
that all went into all the effluent went right into the.
But there was this one. It smelled kind of like mothballs. It was just like this steam blast, and I would have to go. I was a mailroom guy, and I would go from building A to building B, and I'd run through. I remember I would hold my breath from bolt through. It just I have to make sure that I went through one way and then on the way back the other side like a spray tan, so that if I was going to get some kind of toxic rash, it would at least be even.
So the quick snapshot. Well, how would you describe your childhood?
Awesome.
Really?
Awesome. It was great. It was very diverse. I had friends of every type, every color. It's just amazing. It was a lot of fun and hoodlums. Yeah. We stole everything that wasn't bolted down. Yeah. We treated Harvard and MIT the way they treated LaGuardia in Goodfellas. It was like, you need a bike? Go to college. What did you learn at college? Lock your stuff.
Yeah. The freshman move-in must have been a great time for you.
Yeah. My favorite phrase was, hey, where's my bike? Baseball glove, jacket. I mean, one of my favorite Harvard parties, my friend is wearing a jacket over his jacket, and the guy goes, dude, that's my jacket. He goes, oh, I got one just like it. He goes, yeah, it's underneath mine. He's like, it'd be just hysterical.
It's good when you're
We had such fun. I mean, I was in Boy Scouts for a while, too. I mean,
really?
Yeah, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts.
So
I had a normal upbringing in the most abnormal circumstance. Like, my dad would go to work. He'd leave in the morning before I was up. And he'd come home about 11 o'clock at night because he'd get out of work, but he'd stay at the bar across the street. He'd go to Fenno's for a couple of cocktails with the fellas. Yeah. And then I'd take the train. Never had a car. Drove a truck. Never had a car. Huh. Do the math.
Wow.
You know, made a good week's pay.
Yeah.
And tipped his bartender very well.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure he did.
Is that bar still there?
No, it's gone now. It's gone. But I went back and... I did a little recon on where we used to work in the bar, and I was like, wow, this is where it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not that far from where I live now.
Interesting.
Yeah, and...
Game would just change a lot.
So did you think was he a happy guy?
My father?
Yeah.
No, miserable. I mean, he would just listen to the Red Sox on an AM radio at the kitchen table.
I can hear it.
You know, with a Miller High Life in front of him.
Yeah.
And an ashtray with, Camel, no filters.
Sounds pretty fun, actually, I gotta say.
Yeah, he was old school. He was just...
Was he a World War II guy?
No. His brother was. My namesake, his brother Charles, my actual name is Charles, which is a gift my mother gave me. She gave me an alias right out of the chute. I'm going to name him Charles Joseph. We'll call him Joe. Anyone calls the house looking for Charles, it's business, and I'm not home.
But there's no phone anyway, so you don't have to worry about it.
It's awesome. But no, my dad never served. My uncle got injured in Normandy, and when he came back, he always wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
And the closest he could get was post office. Mm-hmm. But that was like his dream. But he got hurt really bad in Normandy, a lot of shrapnel, a lot of injury, and I mean, I understand where his drinking came from. It was PTSD and lost hope. My father, I have no idea what his upbringing is. He wasn't a talkative fellow, unless it was the Red Sox or something that didn't matter.
Well, that's a life. You know, when you have getting into that life where you have that job and then you have the camaraderie of a bar and everybody gets buzzed together.
Yeah,
it's and when we worked in hotels, like you can. It's a life.
Yeah, it's restaurant industry. Same thing.
Yes,
same
thing. You know, and you can see how the years can go by.
Exactly. If you don't make any changes, you could easily slide into it comfortably and never leave.
So did you ever drink? I know you don't
God,
know.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was AAA. I was not pro, but semi-pro up until I was 25.
So 25.
And,
so
then I had my.
You never got called up to the majors. Huh?
No. I was on waivers a couple of times, but I did get picked up once. But
what was your drink of choice?
Beer. I love beer.
Really?
And I drank good beer.
Really?
When I was in high school, I was
drinking.
What was
good beer in high school?
Beck's St. Pauli Girl.
St. Pauli Girl.
Yeah, really. Which is amazing because they both make really nice non-alcoholic beers.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Do you guys think that the St. Pauli girl cleavage is less than it was when we were kids?
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Just go ahead. I
don't think it's less than. I just think that the implants since then have gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And I think our perspective is skewed.
Right. It's a good look, though, the St. Pauli girl look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, you never forget your first girl. That's hashtag me too. But
Lowenbrow.
So why did you quit?
I quit because I had enough. One of my cousins was sober, and I would fishing again. Fishing saved my life. I would go fishing with my cousin, so I would go Saturday morning. I'd go to his house, which meant I usually took the convertible from wherever I was Friday night right to his house at about 5:30 in the morning, and I'd be all banged up. And he's on his second cup of coffee, and I'm like, dude, don't you realize it's the weekend, man?
Yeah,
why are you living like this? Why, why are you denying yourself? And he never pressured me. He never lectured me. But after a while, I was just like, why am I doing this to myself, man? I don't have to do this.
How many beers would you kill in an evening on a good evening?
Well, I mean, there's two definitions of good.
Zach would pretty much just spend all day killing a 30-pack.
Yeah. I would probably I'd say in the 20s, but what would happen in the 20s? I would say what would happen is I would go from drinking beer to the point I couldn't drink beer anymore, and I'd switch over to vodka.
Right, and those are the lost hours probably,
right?
My
God. And then there were 2 o'clock places, and then we'd get to the after-hours joints.
Yeah.
Because it was just not knowing what it was just... I didn't want to go back to the real world. I wanted whatever that madness was to keep going just a little bit longer.
Yeah, of course.
And for some reason, we would go out on a Wednesday night, and we would go to this dive in Somerville Choices. And we would start there. We'd go to the Beacon Hill pub afterwards.
Oh, of course,
it was 2
BHP.
o'clock, like, where you could possibly, the live entertainment would be a stabbing back then.
Yeah.
And we would leave there at 2, and then we'd go somewhere else. And keep in mind, it's a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
There's an after-hours joint. I would go to work at Bowdoin Square at the phone company the next morning.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I would tell the girls at work, I'd go, look, I'm going back to the computers. I'm going to crash for a little bit. If anybody shows up, just yank the back of my hair. And I would pop up like some type of a toy that they pulled a string, and I'd start tapping the keyboard and make it look like I was working.
Yeah.
And at 25, I hit the wall. I was just like, enough. And I walked into a meeting, and I went, man, I said, it's over. It's over. All the good times are over. And no idea how wrong I was. It was just starting.
Oh, interesting.
It was so much fun after that. And I got to remember it.
So how long have you been sober then?
30. I'm coming up 31 in May.
So you were, I don't know, I can't do the math.
25.
25.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty young
I
to
was
call it quits.
Yeah, I was the youngest in my crew.
Yeah.
It's just...
So what happened to the crew then? I mean...
I still hung out with them for a while. I mean, it's just... It got late early after that. Because, if you're out at a bar... 11 o'clock, people are slurring their words. It's time to leave. I can't do it anymore.
Was there a specific incident or night that was really out of control that really pushed you into that meeting? Or was it just, you thought about it for a while?
It was the preponderance of evidence.
All right.
It was sleeping through too many beautiful Saturdays, knowing I'm not going to get them back.
Yeah.
Disappointing people. I'm supposed to be somewhere, and I'm not there.
Yeah, and that can do it too. If those long benders, especially if you're killing a lot of beers and then et cetera for hours at a time, can put you out of business for days.
Indeed.
And those times, those times when you start to just...
No, you'd never be out of business. You go right back on it the next day. You just hit it hard.
Well,
right back in.
The Red Hat is right across the street from Bowdoin Square.
I was gonna say,
and what's funny is the Red Hat, my father, when he moved out, and when I was about 8, he moved to Bowdoin. He was at... I think right above the Red Hat.
No kidding.
He lived in one of those little dive apartments up there.
Jesus.
And he would drink at the Red Hat.
Yeah.
That was at the downstairs bar. And not like the restaurant.
Exactly,
the nice part.
That's the only place to go.
So when I went to work at the phone company, I was like, Red Hat, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but when it hits, it ferments and turns into some type of alcohol, apparently.
Did you go to college?
I went to Boston State for a year, where I did nothing. I showed up a few days, and then I went to Bunker Hill, and I majored in the 99. If you remember the restaurant,
still there, I think.
The old front page. I went to the front page because they used to have the double-decker buses out front.
Yep.
And I would go over there when they opened and just crack a couple over there and then head home. That was my day of school. I did not like the structure of college. I just did. I had no interest in going. I wanted to work. I wanted to do stuff.
Well, by what you've said, you've always had wanderlust, and it doesn't seem like you want to be confined by any...
No. And it's just like the self-employment stuff was just, it's so much better than a regular job. Regular jobs are great, but they want you there every day at a specific time. I got no problem.
And for 40 hours a week.
No problem working 40 hours a week, but I want to do it in 2 days.
Yeah.
I do these crazy days. Like if I'm doing work on my house, my wheelhouse is from 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. Nobody bothers me. There's no phone call. So if there's nobody staying there, I can blast away and do whatever I want. I'll do 3 of those 12-hour days and my week is done. Now I want to take a nap.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Like when I went from BC High to Regent Latin, I got there, started junior year, and my first half of the year, first 2 quarters, I got all A's in everything. And my teachers were all excited. They were thrilled. And then the second half of the year, I took off. And they went, "What are you doing?" And I went, "Well, mathematically, you can't fail me. I got a D." And they're like, "Yeah, but you can get an A." And I went, "Well, I think we know that." but why am I gonna do this to myself? And they went, "Well, I said, "No, I showed you the discipline is the beginning of the year, but now it's my time. I gave you that.
I front loaded for you.
That was it. Now I'm coasting. I went up the hill, and now
I've got a really busy week planned, so I got
this is how it works. I have friends that will tell me when the quizzes are. I'll show up for a quiz. I'll take the quiz, I'll ace it, then I'll leave again. You'll see me. It's an arrangement. And that's what it was. I would show up for quizzes and tests, and And that was it. It was awesome. I was such a jerk. But one of my math teachers, I would knock on the window as I was skipping his class. What a nice guy. We became friends later in life. And
That's
just
funny.
a great guy. A couple of my teachers I became friends with later in life, which was really cool.
So you're 25 at the phone company. Tell me about what was your next job? How did you get into stand-up comedy?
Well, let's go back a little ways, because I was in high school. I always had a job. I mean, since the summer jobs when I was a kid, I'd get the summer job for the city doing something, or working for Harvard or whatever. I'd always work. If it snowed, I'd shovel, whatever. There was always a hustle to make money, working on somebody's car. You see a guy with a flat tire that didn't know how to change it. You change it for him, he'd throw you a few bucks, whatever it was. There was a hustle, you were on it. That's how it worked.
Right.
And now I'm just out of high school. At the time I was going to Boston State, working at U-Haul. And that summer, I get hit by a car on Memorial Drive. I was 19. Nasty hit and run.
Ow!
And I lived across the street from the fire station on River Street. And the first people to show up were the firemen from my house. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I look up and I'm looking at these guys and they're crying. And I'm like, oh God, this isn't good. I don't feel anything at this point. You know what I mean?
geez.
I just went, oh, this isn't good. I've never seen these guys cry. No, this isn't good. And, they moved me. They put me on the board. And at that point, everything woke up and I was like, everything was broken pelvis, leg, just... I had cut my femoral artery, and
That's
the
not
way
one
my
you wanna
leg,
cut.
the way my leg landed, it pinched off the artery. It was, amazing.
Oh, my God.
I mean, if you don't believe in God at that point, you start believing in God at that point. You go, why me?
Yeah.
And not why me that it happened, but why me that I didn't die right there.
No kidding.
That was already. I had done the math on that one, and I went, no, this isn't a bad thing. I get lucky. I got really lucky.
Yeah.
They got me into Mount Auburn. They put me back together, and just. I could go through the list of what was wrong with me, but I'll tell you what was right. No head injury. I could still think and process. A lot of stuff was broken, not working. Lost me for a few months. I mean, things you don't want to hear.
Right.
And,
wow, that's unbelievable.
I wake up there and it's like, now what? And they're going, it's a long road back, and it was touch and go. We didn't know if you could make it. I'm just like,
Jesus.
Really? And here's the best part. I'm wearing, at the time, when I get hit, I'm wearing my Cars Panorama tour shirt. The front of the shirt, checkered flags. Back of the shirt, a tire track across the back. They cut the shirt off of me, and I'm livid. I'm like, what are you doing? I love this shit. You're too banged up. We got to cut it off. Your arms, your shoulder, everything's...
Jeez.
And then they look at the back and they went, oh my God. I went, no, that's just the shirt. That's just the shirt.
So that was a hit and run?
Hit and run. Never found him.
Oh, wow.
Never found him. So... That's all right. You know what? I hope he didn't let it define his life. I hope he got over it. I forgived him and moved on. And I hope he didn't relive that. And I hope he cut himself slack, because it was possibly the worst night of his life.
Yeah.
And if things had been different, I could have been driving.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to handle. But when you think of it and you get your perspective on it, it's like, I hope he didn't let it bring him down a worse path.
Right.
Wow.
I hope he, maybe went to a priest and got confession and made peace with it. I hope so.
I'm sure he knew who he hit too.
Well, they said he got out of the car, looked back, and then ran back to the car and took off.
But even afterwards, I mean, I'm sure, going through something like that, you would explore or go through the paper and see.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I would imagine he would.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah.
But,
what would happen if he would have reached out to you today?
I'd tell him it was one of those moments that it was the best day of my life, worst day of my life.
Oh, wow.
Because it taught me so much. It taught me that, tell people you love them. I grew up in a family where that wasn't one of those things you do, especially as a guy. It was like, just shut up. Shut up, Mary. Whack. I love you, Dick. Get out of here. But it was such a gift to me at that point to understand that. And it was also... The double-edged sword was I thought I was invincible, and I lived my life like a madman after that. Going, I'm not going to die.
Would you be excited? Do you hope that he calls you or reaches out to you at any time?
I would actually love that at this point.
I was just wondering.
I would love that if he came with genuine remorse, which I know anybody that's alive and has a pulse would have remorse over that. Of
course.
No one would go, look what I got away with.
Yeah.
I think the prison that he's lived in the past 35 years or whatever it is now.
Yeah,
is enough. It's enough. It's like, dude, let yourself off, man.
Yeah. You have bandages on your left hand. Is that as a result of the accident?
Table saw. Ask me how bad it was.
Was it pretty bad?
I can throw a split finger fastball. But I'm a righty, so it's not going to be accurate or fast.
Ironically enough, also wearing a Cars t-shirt. We're the latest one.
But
So then you said you lived like a madman after this.
I lived like a madman. But when I was in that hospital, they had, because my injuries were so severe, and they were like, I was in traction, and they moved me to my own private room out of ICU, and they went, we get your room with a view. You're going to love this. It's a room of Memorial Drive, my view, where I got hit, right where I got hit. And I'm like, this is awesome. And they were like, oh, you all right with that? I went, I got a sunrise, man. This is okay. Yeah. This is going to be a good thing,
Yeah.
And, I did what I could there to keep busy and keep my mind going. I had friends coming up, and I had my doctors. One of my doctors was fantastic. I said, I'm missing out my summer here. July 15th, I went in. I didn't get out till the end of October.
Wow.
And I said, I'd like to have a beer when my buddies come up, and he go, that's not unreasonable. But I was 19 and the drinking age was 20. He wrote me a script that I could have a beer a day. So about a month later, he goes, look, it's all right for your kidneys and stuff. Don't worry about it. And so can you bump that up to a 2? And he was like, yeah, he goes, but just like before, we don't provide them. You got to get your friends, no problem. So
This is a good doctor.
I always had beer in the fridge. Yeah. So there was always, a Heineken or Beck's or something in there. And one day when the doctor comes in, he goes, hey, Joe, I got to ask you something. He goes, I'm getting off it. He goes, do you mind if I grab one of your beers? And I'm like, do you mind having it in the room?
That's great.
Perfect. I said, he's off. Come in the room, have a beer with me. It was so cool. They were so understanding. But I got out of there, and when I got out of there, I went into a program to learn to do something because I couldn't do anything physical for a little while because it was a long recovery. So I learned like a typing, word processing, office skills. I get a job at the phone company as a clerk at the phone company. And all I wanted to do was bid out and get on a truck. I wanted to be a lineman, get out.
Yep.
And I started, and I think it was 2 weeks in, I started the phone company, like, this is great. They go on strike. It's 9X.
Oh, 9X.
Big 9X strike. Now, my dad's a Teamster. I can't. And they said, well, if you don't come in, we won't hold it against you. What a lie that was. I don't show up for the strike because I'm not gonna. And I take the time off and I just do other stuff and I'm hanging out with my buddies. It'll pass. I go back to work and I was immediately on a list that starts with S.
Oh. Yeah.
And I would get written up for being a minute late. The trains had a problem. I'm a minute late. Oh, we're going to write you up. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Oh, Jesus.
So that job lasted about a year. I got out of there, but I loved that job. I was in an office with all middle-aged women.
Yeah.
And when we would get on Fridays, payday, we'd all go out to lunch. We'd take our breaks and our lunch together. We'd go out for the whole hour. And we'd go to like the European in the North End.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We'd go to these great restaurants and I'd have the waitress come over and go, I'll have 2 beers, 2 Michelobs. And when you see me down to 1, bring 2 more because I'm on a timer.
That is great.
And now everyone sees this and they went, he's a genius. So everyone's ordering 2 at a time and doubling down. And I'd take the whole office out, get everybody trashed. I'm fine. And go back. And they were like, they hated me. The bosses hated me. I'm like, this is great. This is so much fun. I'm having the time of my life. Then they suspend me. I get pissed. So when I was suspended, I went out and got job interviews. I went through the paper, get interviews, get offered another job. I went back and quit. And it was such a liberating thing. Or like, you learn your lesson. I went, it's never going to happen again. We're done here.
So what was your next gig?
My next gig, I was a production assistant at a manufacturing company in Waltham. Loved it, and a lot of fun. Got to hang out in a factory that actually made something and learn about that from design to model shop to actual production and quality control and field service, the whole 9 yards, and learn the whole production. And went, wow, this is great. But I was still an animal. I wanted to go out and drink and have fun. And at about that time, we'd get laid off and call back. And I was like, what's the layoff like? And they're like, well, we're going to call you back in about 6-8 weeks. And I'm like, oh, this is, we get to collect. Oh, my God. And at the time it happened, there were probably 8 of my friends that were all laid off. And I used to call us the Lost Boys because when the movie was out, the line from the movie, the whole motto was, you know, stay awake all night, sleep all day, live forever. It's fun to be a vampire. That was us because none of us had to go to work. One day every 2 weeks, you'd have to go and pick up a check. And everybody had a check on a different day. So it was like community money. It was just like we're going out. And it was great. Then I'd go back to work and it was fine. And then in the interim, my dad dies. And it was 86. It was Red Sox in the World Series. Sure. He died at the right time. He had hope. He didn't know. He didn't know. And
Buckner.
So So he thought they were going. We all thought they were going. It was a great time for him to wave. And now I go to work and there's another layoff coming. Yeah. And I said, look, I don't want this one. I said, I want to keep working. I don't want the time alone. I'd rather have stuff to do. I don't want my mind with nothing to do.
So this is, first of all, your dad dies. Does this shatter you? Was this
No. He had Alzheimer's. He was in a home. I'd seen it coming. It was just...
So he was fading
And he lived about a year too long with that disease. That's about it. Yeah. And, you're sad, but at the same time, it's kind of a relief. He's not...
Yeah, hurting.
He's in death's waiting room at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. The nursing home was across the street from the cemetery. Irony. And, so
you don't want to get laid off this time?
I don't want to get laid off. They lay me off, and I went, damn you. I went out, I got another job the next day, and I worked at a truck company, and that's where I was working for them. It was a union job. I was on my 90-day probation. I was about 80 days in. I get hit by this car. Right. And I'm sorry. I skipped a whole section. Wow, I said this out of order. Where did I go? From the phone company, that's after the first accident.
Okay. Oh, first accident.
The first accident, I get out of the hospital after the first accident. I get up and running. I wind up working at the phone company. I go into that. So now I'd gone to Kylie in Somerville, trucking company. Mm-hmm. They built the lift trucks for the phone company and the auger trucks. I'm working for them. I'm like 80 days in, and I get whacked on my motorcycle. I had to get a motorcycle.
Jesus, what are you doing with a motorcycle?
Everyone told me don't get a motorcycle. Yeah. I went, I get hit walking. What am I supposed to do? Your time's up, your time's up. You know what I mean? What, am I supposed to stop walking? No, I'm going to get a bike. I get hit. I'm like, all right. So now I can't do the job at the trucking company. I'm like, now what do I do? So I'm on crutches. I'm going to be on crutches for, they said, between a year and a half.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm like, what can I do at that point? I get a job running a parts department at Crimson Tech Audio Video in Cambridge. Love the job. A lot of fun. And
running the parks department?
Yeah. Yeah, they did audio video. They would do setups for schools, for TV stations.
Oh, I see.
And I had a blast. It was a lot of fun, but I was supposed to get like a 6-month review. Yeah. And after like 7-8 months, I'm like, where's my review? They went, well, we're really not going to do it right now. And I went, oh, okay, I'm done. Yeah. And they were like, what? I went, yeah, I'm done. I said, my notice is in. They went, oh, people say that. I went, oh, no, I'm done. I'm gone. And so I left that. And then at that point, I started buying and selling cars with a dealer's license and doing that for a while. And that was fun.
Did you have a lot, or are you just like using the want ads and grabbing a car?
Worked out of a friend's,
flipping them.
My friend had a shop in Brookline, so I ran it out of his shop in Brookline. Oh, and it was just going to the auctions, buying cars, do a little recon, flip them, and a lot. Plus, you get to drive different cars all the time. Cool. Yeah. I'm a car guy, so this was a lot of fun for me. And I was like, I need a real job. This is nice, but I sold real estate. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. So that is what got me pushed into comedy. Because I was selling real estate, and at the time, the market had crashed. It was bad. We're doing like REO properties, all bank-owned properties, and bad neighborhoods. And there's an office gun. An office gun. Wow. You know what I mean? I got to go show something on Humboldt Ave. Who's got the piece? You know what I mean? It was like this. Dude, I wish this was a joke. Jesus. Wow. And so now I had gone to so many showings where there were shootings right after. Right before or after I was there. It was just like, I'd get back to the office, they'd go, oh my God, you're alive. I go, what happened? Triple shooting right in front of the house. Oh, wow. So, I mean, you realize you get 9 lives and you're on like 8 right now. You better be careful. So I was working with Patty Ross Another,
right.
Very funny.
Yes.
And we were selling real estate, and we would always come in and tell stories. Like whatever we did the day before would be the funniest story the next day. And we're telling stories to the point that people are coming in the office to see us, but not to buy anything. We're like mortgage brokers that are just coming in to get entertained for 45 minutes.
So Patty Ross worked at this real estate
She
place?
worked at this real estate office.
How does she know everybody?
She has known everybody as long as I've known her.
Jesus.
As long as we become really great friends, and now a friend of hers, the nephew, is doing stand-up. Mm-hmm. He's doing open mics, and she said, we should go talk to him. So we go talk to him. And he tells us what the whole open mic scene is. So, okay, we'll do this open mic. And at Billerica 99, the greenhouse, it's a hellish room, and it's so funny. I look back on it now, how nervous I was. I was like dry heaving in the parking lot.
Jeez.
You know, the Billerica 99, this is show business. And
you weren't drinking at this point, so you're going in there.
I'm not drinking. I show up in a Maserati. I'm driving a Maserati bi-turbo back then. I was doing all right. So I show up, and it's like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So we go up. Patty goes up. She says, all right. And I go on at the end because I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm going to go. Yeah. The guy that's running the room, John David, another comic. I don't know if you know him. Funny guy. And he goes, you want to go on? Last spot. He goes, now or never. I went, I'll go. I go up. I absolutely crush.
Really?
To the point that at the end, they're yelling my name. Has never happened since.
That's amazing.
Never happened since.
Really?
And he goes, what do you want for an answer? Joe. He goes, no, that's enough. And I go up, and I just killed. I killed. It's hysterical.
Fantastic.
It's great. And I come up, and they're like, who is this guy? He's got to be a ringer. He's lying. It's not his first time. And
how did you cry? So you're petrified. Suddenly you're standing in front of the mic. You can see the people.
And I'm just killing. I'm getting laughs, applause, laughs. I end on a callback. Everything's fine. Everything's great. I'm like, oh, this is the way it's going to be. I come out, one of the guys that's there goes, hey, he goes, I want you to do my show. He goes, it's a paid spot. And I'm like, oh, this is how it works. This is great. No, that's not how it works. I go back, and I like the third or fourth time I'm up, I like blank. I completely blank.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I take like a couple, I retool, I get back and I go, and I'm like, okay, this is all right. And now I realize there's actually work that's involved, because the 5 minutes I had was a bulletproof 5 minutes, but now I need more time. So I work on that. And so it goes from real estate to, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not happy. I had like my midlife crisis at 30.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to go do comedy. Everyone's like, are you crazy? And it's like, no, I want to be happy. I just want to be happy. I'll take a pay cut. And they're like, yeah, but I want, look, it's like joining a plumber's union.
Yeah.
You're going to haul buckets of crap, and then you're going to get paid. That's how it is. Now I have to haul buckets of crap, and then I'm going to get paid. It'll be fine. And so there was a lot of work back then, and I did all right. I mean, I'm making a week's pay.
That's incredible to even make a living at something like that.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Patty moves to L.A.
Yep.
And, she's doing TV shows, and I'm doing every dive bar between here and, and Connecticut and Maine and up and down, having a blast, having a lot of fun. And I'd always do something else. One of my friends would have a business, need somebody to cover him for a week. I'd fill in and do that. Mm-hmm. I had all sorts of mad jobs in between where, selling mortgages or
right.
what else. So I'm doing all these crazy things.
And you don't
in the
seem
meantime.
to mind jobs. I mean, every job that you've mentioned so far, you found something likable about
there was something redeeming in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can help somebody get out of trouble and get a mortgage and go, look, you're in this for 2 years. You got to clean yourself up and get out. Otherwise, you're going to get buried. And we're going to adjust your rate an eighth of a point, but you're not going to have a prepayment penalty. Is that important? Yeah, that's important. That's important. My bosses are like, why are you doing this? I go, I'm not going to have the guy with an $8,000 prepay penalty, because that's going to keep him stuck. Right. And then his rate's going to bounce 2 points and he's going to be buried. So I even when I had a bad job, I'd make the best of it. And never was there a job beneath me.
Yeah,
it's like, there's dignity in work. I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
But I always had comedy, and comedy was number one in every job I take. I'm like, look, this is what I do. And if you can work with my schedule, I'll give you some hours and we'll see what happens. And then it was great. Then it was just comedy, a lot of fun.
It's amazing that you kept in a straight and narrow without drinking through all that, which is just the environment is just it's all about drinking and it's unbelievable.
And I would think, especially since you crushed, like when you have an awesome set, you'd figure there's got to be some kind of high that when you step off, you're like,
yeah. Well, that's why I got into comedy. I tell people it was the most addictive drug. It was more than anything, more than sex. It was like you would drive 3 hours to do a 5-minute spot and drive back home. That's how powerful that.
Yeah. Tom would drive 3 hours for a 5-minute sex.
I'm guilty of.
Yeah. And some sets go better than others. Sometimes the ride home's a long one.
So where did you learn to write? Where did you learn to write
I had
jokes?
always been doing it since I was a kid. I would stay up and watch Carson when it was 90 minutes when I was a kid. I mean, 8 years old, I watched Carson. And I'd go to sleep at 1 a.m. I'd be exhausted the next day, but I'd have the monologue down.
Yeah.
And I learned that I was never a big kid. So humor, that was my strength. Got me out of every bad situation.
Right.
From a kid wanting to wail the daylights out of me to going, I like him. He's funny.
Yeah.
And it just became a tool, and it was great, and it got me in trouble. I was always in trouble in school for, saying the funniest thing at the wrong time, to the point that, it was always something that I was in trouble for. And I actually went back to see Father Bennett at BC High after I'd been doing comedy for a while. And one of my tours I had done was I went to the Balkans in 99, Bosnia, Kosovo.
Oh, wow.
And so I got him a hat, a black baseball cap, Bosnia on the front. And I brought it over to him. I took him to lunch at Venezia with laughing and having fun. And I said,
great.
Father, if there's ever another one like me, put him in touch with me and show him there's a different way. He doesn't have to do this. He can actually make it his life's work, and it's fun. You get paid and do something you love. And he goes, I don't think we're going to have another one like you.
Well, does that, obviously you always, in school and in work, it seems like you always try to cast off forced structure anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And so in that way, I guess, is that one of the reasons comedy is perfect? Because it's all your universe.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
You work as much as you want, as little, and you can eat steak or hamburger. Depends on how hard you want to work, how smart you want to work, who you want to work for.
I know that we're closing in on an hour, and I wanted to get to you went overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
When did that happen? Was that
that was it started in the 90s. I went to the Balkans were the first place I went to for the Department of Defense. And it was awesome. It was just, and at that time it was scary. That was, the whole Hillary sniper fire.
Yes, that's
there was a place called Sniper Alley. And you would have to drive through there.
Were you selling real estate?
Oh, no. By then I was,
so this is
I was
full
on comedy.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And my
you've
mom,
made it in
my mom had
point.
passed in February of that year. February of that year she had passed. And my mother was, she was my everything. Mm-hmm. And I was a mama's boy, and we did hospice at my house with her. And it was, when she was gone, I was like, now I can do whatever I want because I don't have to worry about worrying her. Yeah. Like the idea of me going to a war zone was like, I almost been killed a few times with accidents. She was, try to take it easy tonight, Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, Bosnia? Kosovo? Yeah. Absolutely. Sign me up. And 30 days. It was like a 30-day tour, a long tour, doing 2-3 shows a day, different bases. It was a blast. I love this. And I got my first taste of military life, and not to be in the military, but to run with them for a little while. And they take you in like a brother. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's an amazing life. I was like, this is great. I'll do as many of these as I can get. And so I started doing those.
So this is like 98.
99, yeah. First tour, 99, October 99. And it went great. It went absolutely great. I came back from that. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I love this. This is fun. You feel like you're doing something good. It's a bigger purpose. You get to go over and say thank you in person. Yeah. And they were so thankful and grateful. Yeah. It sort of like knocks you back. Yeah. You go, wait a minute, you're living here in this dump for a year and a half. I come over for a month and you treat me like a hero. Yeah. They go, well, yeah, but you came over. I go, well, yeah. They go, well, you didn't have to. I go, there's no draft. You didn't have to either. Yeah. You know what I mean? You signed. They go, yeah, but we signed up for this. I went, I did too. It's all right.
So what is that feeling of indebtedness to troops that you have? Is it?
If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't get to do what I do.
Yeah.
If they drafted me because no one volunteered, I would never have got the stories I have. I would never have been to the places I've been. And that is a debt that I can never repay. There's never enough. There's never enough thank you for that.
Yeah.
So now when we went into Afghanistan, when the whole stuff happened with Iraq, Afghanistan, I was in Hungary with Matt Eisman, co-host of American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the tour with me, and we had just done the whole Balkan tour. We were in a DFAC, the dining facility, with Iraqis that were working with the U.S. to paint the targets, tell them what was going on. The first volley that goes into Saddam's palace, we're in that dining facility with Iraqis who jumped up like it was a Super Bowl, and we won in overtime.
Oh, wow.
And to watch that reaction and go, we're on the right side of this.
Yeah.
We're on the right side, because what had happened was in the first Desert Storm was we pulled out after the UN directive, and then the people who had helped us were slaughtered. Their families were slaughtered and tortured. So going in the second time, it was like, you can't do that again.
Right.
You can't, you got to commit to us. And that was a hard one to getting people on board. They did. And it was wonderful to watch that reaction in that little slice of history. It was very surreal. And now, right after that, I called the guy that's booking the tours. I've been to Japan and Korea and all these
How did you get on
places.
this? Is this a USO tour?
I auditioned at the Improv out in Hollywood, and the guy that booked the tour was out there. And he came up to me afterwards, and everyone else, he's going, you need to send me a 45-minute tape. And he goes, do you have your book with you? And I went, yeah. He goes, are you open in October? And I went, I'll cancel whatever I have. And he goes, all right, I'm going to give you end of October and November. And I went,
wow.
I'm there. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Following the footsteps of a few other famous people that go out there. Like
Bob Hope was the same age as I was.
Oh, okay.
And I just hope I have his longevity. You know what I mean? So now I call the guy up. I call Dan, and I went, and he goes, hey, man. He goes, I can get you to Japan and Korea. I went, I want to go to the desert. He goes, I got friends in the desert. I want to go to Iraq. And he goes, Joey, he goes, we don't have anything. I said, dude, there's other people sending people out to Iraq. If you don't get me over there, I'm going to get over there. And he was like, all right. He calls me back like 2 days later. He goes, careful what you wish for, man. You're going to the sandbox. And I went, was that so hard? and so now, fast forward, I'm doing a show in Princeton, New Jersey. And I meet these Black Hawk pilots, because I'm talking about, helicopter pilots I saw in Bosnia and what they did. And guy goes, hey, he's a Black Hawk pilot. And I went, I'll give him a round of applause. Turns out he was a lieutenant colonel that ran the whole crew. He was a Black Hawk pilot too. They're deploying. They're going over there. This is their night out before they go. And I went, I think I'm coming over in like March. And he went, okay. So we email back and forth. My first trip in country. This is going to be great. I said, I don't think I'm going to your base. And he goes, no, you'll go to my base. I went, I don't know about that. I said, it's not on the schedule. He's laughing. So we're emailing back and forth. He goes, don't worry. Let me know when you're in town. And so we fly into Mosul, and this is right after Fallujah had been, the Battle of Fallujah has been blown out. Mosul's the most dangerous place in the world. We start off in Mosul. We each have, my buddy Jim McHugh and I, we each have a personal security guard. My guy is a guy called Shadow, and he is he's usually attached to generals. He protects generals. Yeah. And everywhere I go, he's with me. I walk out to a porta potty, he's with me. And he goes, how do you feel over here? I went, dude, I wish I had you at home. I go to some bad places at home. And so we do these shows over there, and it's just amazing. It's fantastic. We're having all this fun in the middle of hell. And you realize it's like, now I'm actually using my gift to do something good. Yeah. And having a lot of fun doing it. And, you're flying in Blackhawks over the Tigris and Euphrates, and everything is like, all the history's coming back, and it's like, I can't believe I'm using history. This is amazing.
Wow.
And so now we get on one of the flights, and it's two Blackhawks with us everywhere we go. They're taking us by Blackhawk everywhere. And we land at a base, and it's not the base we're supposed to be at. And we have this Lieutenant Colonel Air Force guy, and he's going, I don't understand why we're here. This is not on the list. The door's open. My buddy Veach is there, and he goes, Joey! And I went, you're kidding me. He goes, I run the flights, brother. Let's go get coffee. He takes us up to Saddam's palace. We have coffee, me and McHugh, and it's like, this is insane. And 40 minutes later, we're back on the helicopters going the way we're supposed to go, and just...
That's incredible.
Jeez. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Were you, when you're on this helicopter and like you said, you're flying and seeing all this historic, stuff from the beginning really of civilization, were you ever thinking like, holy Jesus, did they not realize they got a kid from Cambridge?
Yeah, the whole time. And what's funny is the guy, our lieutenant colonel is Eddie Saunders, and he's calling the bases ahead of time. He goes, and it was right after John Kerry had said, soldiers are kicking in doors and terrorizing women and children. Right after that, do you remember that line?
I didn't. For Iraq, he had said that.
Yeah. So right after that, he's calling all the bases and saying, "Hey, look, I got two comedians from Boston, but they're good fellas. They're Fox News kind of fellas." So now everyone's going, "Oh, okay, all right, no problem."
Yeah.
And it was so cool. So we did that, and we were on bases where, you'd hear stuff coming in and go, is that incoming or outgoing? They go, it's incoming. I go, well, what do we do? They go, well, keep walking. It's okay. Jeez. And then they go, you're city kids, huh? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, you didn't run. You didn't cry. And I went, well, I'm following your lead. If you cry and crap your pants, I'll do the same thing.
I'm capable of it.
It's like the guy
I did real estate in Cambridge.
He's a sergeant from Lowell, oddly enough.
Oh, really?
And he's like, man, you guys handled that well. And I went, oh, yeah. So we're at a base in Kirkuk, and I'm on stage, and I'm doing a show, and I hear the air raid go off, and I went, so what's our move? I went, do I just keep going? And they went, what's wrong with you? I went, well, you were in a building. They're like, no, you're going to get to something. And they're like, what is wrong with you? I went, I've worked really bad places my whole life, man. This is it. But it was so cool. And then I go to, so we go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is like more of a dump than you can imagine. Mm-hmm. It's decimated from years of war, and we get stuck on this base. We get stuck in Bagram, and this is like one of my favorite stories ever. It's right at the beginning of a sukkah, a Jewish holiday, where they celebrate the 40 days in the desert, and they build a temporary shelter. Now, I had just helped one of the MWR guys, Morale, Welfare, Recreation guys, because I see him. I said, Gibby, what are you up to? He's got like all these tools in front of the place and wood. He goes, I got to build a wall and a door. And I went, I'm actually pretty good with that stuff. And he goes, you're a comedian. I went, no, I can actually do stuff. And he goes, well, let's give it a shot. So he's got, parts of floors, and I'm cutting stuff up with saws, and I frame it out. I build this. I put a door up, and he goes, well, Joey, he goes, I got to tell you, you're the first comedian I've ever seen that's got any useful skills other than with a microphone.
That's fantastic.
I go, all right, you're going to sign your name on the wall. So I go, Joey the Hammer Carroll. And so now
that's great.
So we're like laughing, and so we're walking back to the mess tent, and I see there's the chaplain. He's a rabbi, and he's got all this stuff on the ground. I went, I don't know what you're building, but I can help you. And he kind of looks at me, and he goes, and Gibby goes, he ain't lying. He goes, he actually just built stuff for me. And he goes, I get the rest of the stuff in. He goes, you can help me. It's a sukkah. It's for the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, let me know. And we're supposed to fly out the next day. And I went, well, if I'm around, I'll help. So this goes on like day 1, day 2, day 3, and we don't get out. Now he gets all the supplies, and I went, we're on a flight, man. We're supposed to be out. We get out, we get bumped. I come back, and me and the chaplains, we're building the sukkah.
Oh, nice.
And everything's going great. And I start laughing. And he goes, what's so funny? And I went, man, I said, think about this. I said, I don't know. You're probably not a gambler. Neither am I, but I know a little. I said, this is like amazing. I said, you got a Christian and a Jew working side by side on an old Taliban base, building a sukkah for your people. I said, this is like a superfecta. This just doesn't happen all the time. And
That's fantastic.
So we finish it up, and he gives me like a piece of it to bring home as a memento, and signs it. I sign it. We make the date.
Awesome.
And this is great. And it's like, so we get on to the DFAC afterwards. We're having something to eat, and we're talking about it. And as we're having dinner, we get the tap on the shoulder. They went, your flight's in. You got to grab your bags and go. And he looks at me and he goes, you were here for a reason. And I went, oh, I know. I absolutely, he goes, no one else was offering to help me. He goes, you stayed here to help me build it. I went, I have absolutely no doubt that's why I was here.
That's amazing. That's really
I was
great.
here just in time to finish that and then go. I got a great story. I did something good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the way my life is. My life is always, it goes from it's the why me, but it's not the why me that something bad happened to me. It's why me that I get the result that I have. Huh. Yeah. I was in an ambulance 3 weeks ago because I cut my hand with a saw.
Table saw,
and I'm holding my fingers together, not knowing if I'm going to keep them.
Yeah.
And I'd made peace with losing the tip. I had already made the deal. I'm like, God, I lose the tip. I'll learn to work around it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm telling the guys jokes on the way, the split finger fastball. And like,
just the tip.
We're taking you to Mass General. We're going to get your hand put back together. Don't worry. And they start getting better information every time they come in the room. I ask everybody coming in the room, I'm like, how's your day? And they went, how's my day? And I went, this could be worse. I know this could be worse. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to get hurt, this is where you want to be.
Why are you such an optimist? I mean, why are you such a positive person?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It's just, I think it's the getting almost killed at 19. Huh. It's don't look at what you don't have. Look at what you have. It's that glass half empty, half full. No, it's my glass. You know what I mean? It's bigger than that. I have a glass. Are you kidding me? Even if it's empty, it's my glass.
I think
you can't take that from me.
I think that because of it's so positive, you're so open to anything that comes along, even if it's out of the blue or being that way, being that frame of mind opens your opportunities to things that you would never. If you weren't that type of person, that would never happen to the normal person. And I respect that. That's great.
It's
That's
a lesson.
Phenomenal.
There's a lesson in all of it. It's nothing that happens to you is necessarily bad until you attach that to it. It's just an event. And it's like, what did you learn from this? How did it better your life? It's like you have a new appreciation for something. Did you help somebody else? You know, when I got whacked on my motorcycle, they put my leg back together with a bunch of screws.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
I wind up years later, I run myself over with my own car. I'm working on my car. My friend starts it, it bounces on my foot. And I went, broke my foot. So I have 2 shows at Nick's. I'm not missing them. I put cowboy boots on because they're tight. Keeps the swelling down. I'm a
Then you got to take them off.
So now I go in, I do my shows, and everyone's going, yeah, your foot's not broken. I went, it's broken, man. And they went, you never do the shows. I went, it's payday, brother. I go over to BMC afterwards, and it's a full moon Saturday. It's crazy. I finally get in. They do the X-ray. They went, they're looking at all the screws. And I went, oh, that's a motorcycle accident. I broke my leg. I did my ankle. And they went, oh, we haven't seen one like this. And we're looking, and I'm telling them how it was done. And I said it was devascularized. And it was really, so we're having this great chat. We're laughing and talking about it. And they went, well, the bone's broken. They said, we're going to do this for you. You put in a splint. And I went, dude, I drive a 5-speed. I ain't going to do this. I put a sneaker on and tie it tight. I need to, get out of the house. And they're like, well, you don't do what you do. So I go in like a week later for the follow-up, and they went, funny story. And I just started laughing. I went, of course it is. They said, like 2 days after you came in, they said a guy came in, motorcycle accident, basically the same break as yours. We didn't even have to look it up. We grabbed your X-ray.
Oh, really?
We put them together, and I'm like, see, that's why I ran myself over. That's why I ran myself over, to save this guy's pain and suffering. Right. And it's just like, that's, like when I talk to kids and stuff, I go, you are where you're supposed to be. Yeah. If you don't know why, just wait. Take a couple breaths and it'll reveal itself. But you're where you're supposed to be. Don't get bent out of shape.
Yeah.
I had my motorcycle fall off the kickstand one 4th of July weekend. Came down, it broke the clutch handle, it broke the mirror, and I just looked at it and I went, I look up and I went, I got the message, God. I'm not supposed to be out this weekend. And that's it. Huh. It's like, I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Are you a
Everything
Christian?
happens for a reason. What's that?
Do you believe in God?
Oh, God, yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you always, or did you come into it?
No,
obviously you were raised
I
Catholic.
always did, but I got reinforcement from different things in my life, and it's just. And what's funny is I'm not real preachy with it.
Yeah.
But it works for me, and I really believe it. And there's a lot of things in life that I could never explain without it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Why me? Again, why me? Why am I still here?
So you seem to glean positivity, like we talked about, out of a lot of negative things, like these accidents and things like that, and immediately consider yourself fortunate. But a lot of people say comedy comes from pain.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, my upbringing was tough, but we didn't have much, but my mother was funny and she kept us laughing. And that was a big thing. Like I tell people the biggest trick she ever played, we didn't know how poor we were. I didn't know till I went to BC High. I'm talking to a kid who's like the youngest of 7, and he's got new clothes on, and I'm like, really? What's that about? You know what I mean, brothers?
I know.
What kind of people are you? I went, whoa, there's a whole different world out there. But growing up in my little microcosm, that was it. Yeah. Everyone did the same thing.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
it wasn't a big to-do.
Do you still live like that? Because obviously you've done well in comedy in your career, et cetera.
I still like to fix things. I don't like to throw something away. I like to fix it if it's not beyond repair. I hate wasting things. Yeah. I like getting new stuff.
Yeah.
But I also, I have an affinity for keeping things running. It's like we live in a disposable society.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
You still fish?
Not often. I live on the water and I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's so sad. It's just the time for that.
Do you use the water at all? I mean, do you go out on the beach and stuff? Or
I do. I hit the beach. My thing is I like to go off season. I like to swim in like November.
Oh.
Late October, November. The water's still warm. There's nobody around. Going for a quick dip. Like my birthday, I'll sometimes go in February for a quick splash, something like that. I'm not a big, go in with everyody on January 1st because that's everyone can run in with the group. But when you're down there alone, people are checking your shoes to see if you left a note. There's something funny about that. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, is he coming out? What's wrong with this guy? He didn't seem despondent. I thought I saw him smile. But I mean, I love that. I love that part. But it's just...
So doing comedy, is it about needing to tell individual stories, or is it about whatever it takes to get that high of making this room die laughing?
It's funny because in the beginning, it was all about me. That's the way it was. It was like, I don't care if they laugh or not. If I think it's funny, it's funny. And now it's more of, I don't know what kind of a day they had, but they came here to laugh.
Right.
So that's your job. Make them laugh. Find out what they think is funny. You've got all the tools, get to their level. If you can try to bring them to yours, that's fine. But I've also had, in Kyrgyzstan, my sister, before I left for that trip, was sick. And I had gone to see her, and she gave me a cross. I didn't tell her where I was going because I didn't want her to worry.
Right.
I call home. My birthday's at midnight. I call home and find out she's passed.
Oh,
I'm on the other side of the world, wake and funeral over.
Jesus.
And I'm like, and my buddy McHugh was with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, he goes, we gotta do something for Joey. So he has the sergeant that's there. He goes, you get him something with a candle for his birthday. He's got a show to do in a half hour. It's his birthday. And so they come in, they sing happy birthday to me, and I'm looking at McHugh laughing, going, only you would pull this off, right? And,
that's nice, though.
And a half hour later, I'm on stage in front of 500 people in Kyrgyzstan at Manas Air Base doing a show.
Jeez.
And it's just...
That's unbelievable.
And at that point, there's no place in the world I would have rather have been than there, because that's cathartic to me. It's doing what I do, and it's doing what I'm there for them at the same time.
You, with all of those, with that confluence of things, like you just mentioned, those things, you must have been in a different place in your mind than you've ever been in.
Oh, yeah. But it's getting back to focus. I mean, I sat with my mother. She moved out of my house for hospice into a regular hospice over at one of the hospitals in Boston. I had a show that night, and she's like hours away. I don't know if it's going to go. It's me and her in the room, and I asked the nurse, I went, if I run down to Nick's to do a spot and come back, do you think she'll be here? And they went, honestly, I don't know. And I went, I can't take that chance. And so I sat with her. I called. I said, I don't think I can make it. And they had somebody cover me. And she passed like 20 minutes before showtime. And I'm like, I can't make it anyway. But I got to spend that time with her. And it was me and her. And it's just one of these weird, crazy things that it was the way it was supposed to be. It was me and her. I was holding her hand, saying a prayer. And at that point, you pray for a miracle in the beginning, and then you pray for mercy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, I told her, I said, Ma, you don't have to do this anymore. I'm going to be fine. That's what she needed to hear. I said, I'm going to be fine. You don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to. And I prayed for her to, just go. Just take her now. And I open my eyes for my prayer, and I look up, and she's gone. I go to call the nurse, and I'm like, she got a DNR. She's gone.
Yeah.
And there was no, like you read all the stuff that, it can be violent and coughing and shaking.
Yes.
And I went, you did it. You tricked me. You left the room with me right here. You did it. You did it. And that's how it was supposed to be.
Wow.
Jeez.
And then the next night I was back on stage like nothing happened.
Incredible.
But that's where I feel at home. That's where you go. And comics are different from other people. Like if most people do something horribly embarrassing, they look to see if anybody saw them. A comic goes, I can't wait to get in front of 300 people and tell the story. I go Wednesday, 3 weeks ago Wednesday, I cut my hand on the saw. Yeah. That Saturday night, I'm in the Lebanon Opera House in front of 300 people telling the story with fresh jokes through the bloody gauze.
Do you not, and this is, I guess, for every comedian, do you not understand how incredibly terrifying it is to stand up in front of people?
I mean, it's every, here's how I found that out. We're at like a Marine base, and guys are going, man, I could never do what you're doing. Dude, you just took Fallujah. You just took Fallujah. I tell jokes. Oh, yeah, I could never do that. Like, oh, my God.
That's great.
Just completely hysterical. I'm pretty sure I could never take Fallujah.
So you've got a bed and breakfast now.
Yeah.
How'd you get into this?
By accident. My fiance.
You just get into stuff, it seems like.
She came up with this idea, and she goes, do you know what we're going to call it? I went, the Joey doesn't live here anymore? So I want no part of this. I can't walk down to the refrigerator in my underwear. What's that about? But it turns out it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. We get the nicest people in the world from all over the world. Yeah. I get people coming in, and it's like, well, we're from Hungary. And I'm going, I've been to Hungary. I've been here. I've been there. And you're reliving this with people. And it's almost like you're traveling via them. And then you share what you like about here. You send them to restaurants. And I send people to Mount Auburn Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's amazing.
It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
The tower you can climb up there.
The tower you can climb up. And I have fond memories of like walking through my mom when I was a kid and just looking at some of those markers, the sculptures from these European artists that are amazing. Wow. And you just go, it's a great way to kill a couple hours, man.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No. And plus there's a lot of people buried there that are, who's who.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It's on the literary tour. I think. Yeah.
It's incredible. But,
so that's interesting.
So I have a blast with these people coming through. And it turns out I like people.
You sure do.
I don't like crowds. I don't like them when they're in a crowd or a mob.
Right.
But one-on-one, they're nice. And here's a little thing I discovered from the bed and breakfast. People will come back and they go, the people in Boston are so nice. And I go, where'd you go?
I know.
Yeah, where'd you go in
Exactly.
Boston?
Yeah.
And you know what I came up with is it's the wagging tail dog theory. It's these people are so happy that when they ask somebody how to get somewhere, or I'm sorry, I'm new here, whatever it is, they ask for help, people respond to that in kind. And it's like a dog shows up to another dog. If his tail's wagging, the other dog wags his tail. If they show up with a snarl, they get a snarl. And it's made me rethink the whole how you approach people.
Yeah.
It's just when I'd go to a toll booth, I would always stop and ask the guy, how's your day? And they go, what? I go, how's your day? And I say, pretty good, I guess. No one's asked me that in a while.
So interesting that you say it, and there's power in that, too.
And I do that with everybody all the time. And it's so funny to hear how many people will go, you're the first one to ask me that.
Yeah, that's great. What's a toll booth? No.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so interesting.
Exactly.
I took the commuter train in like a month ago, and this guy...
I saw that. I saw the article. It was awesome.
This guy was just fantastic. This guy got on the mic, the overhead PA thing, and said something like, everybody have a great day. Don't work too hard out there. Remember, life is short, and you just try to be as happy as possible. And he was preaching to everybody over the PA.
Yeah.
And everybody got off the train and loved him.
Yeah.
Like 500 people would have voted for that guy for president. It's like, and that's all it takes.
It's like you're for 10 seconds, you're a life coach. Do you know what I mean? It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
And it's all the people are dragging themselves to work 2 and 3 jobs sometimes, and are droning, and all it took is like this guy, which is I guess what you do for a living, really, as a comic.
Well, the other thing, I lost a couple of brothers at a young age. Mm-hmm. And my brother Jack was 23. I was 19 when he died, and or 20. And I always think, and he drowned. And I just think I was torn apart, put back together like Humpty Dumpty, and I survived. He gets a little water in his lungs. It's unfair. The whole thing is unfair, but I don't know why. But he was here to teach me lessons, and maybe the biggest one is every day's that gift, and it really is. So if it's raining out, don't piss and moan about it raining out. If he came back for one day and it was raining, would he be upset, or would we be shooting baskets in the park?
Yeah.
We'd be shooting baskets in the park. So I try to keep that in the back of my mind that, it is what it is. Make the best of it. Because there's going to be a time when you're never going to feel rain on yourself again.
Yeah.
When you're in the box, it's over, And the idea of rain hitting your skin's not that bad. Go out and enjoy it. When you were a kid, you used to catch snowflakes on your tongue.
Yeah.
Now you catch them on Twitter, but still.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But make the best of it.
Yeah.
I mean, focus on what you have.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in traction, here's how funny it was. I was thinking how wonderful it was 3 weeks ago when I could get up out of bed, crawl to the bathroom, and throw up on a Saturday morning. I was thinking how blessed I was to have it so good and not know it.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And to a lesser degree, it could be said as well as just getting older. Remember when you were 24 and you didn't have things like knees? Now I'm like, oh God! It's like, I didn't even have knees when I was 24. There was no back pain.
McHugh said to me yesterday, the funny side, I've been thinking about it. He goes, when you go to the doctor, do you just circle the parts you haven't broken? I went, it'd be a much shorter list, brother. I was actually thinking about that. All the different things that I've broken. And
I know your legs must look like a Erector set.
It's just like scars. It's like, really? Oh my God, this is great. It's great.
So what's the bed and breakfast called? We should plug it.
Harrington House Bed and Breakfast.
Harrington House Bed and Breakfast.
Where is that?
Right in Winthrop, Mass.
Oh, okay.
15 minutes from the airport.
Winthrop, Mass. It's its own country. Winthrop is a different place.
Awesome.
Well, the Winthrop,
Winthrop Farms.
What's the other one there? The other peninsula by Lynn.
Oh no, you're thinking
Nahant.
Nahant. Those are two similar places, right? Winthrop and Nahant. In terms of you live out, you have to drive down a causeway.
Yeah. And restaurants, just crazy restaurants.
In Winthrop?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and a couple of great BYOBs over there, too.
Oh.
Like Alia, Saeed's from Morocco, and he does Italian, Mediterranean, killer food.
Have you been to Belle Isle Seafood? Did we not go there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you're kidding
Another great place. Oh, and the planes fly right overhead. It's awesome.
Yeah,
really?
It is awesome.
Do you like the planes?
I love the planes.
I do.
I used to love watching them from the Belle Isle Bridge when they come over like that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Or down the beach when they line up and they're like 5 or 6 deeps, and you just see them coming in with the light over the water and a full moon. It's great.
Yeah,
but watching the storms come in on Winthrop Beach is fantastic. Like the other night, I was out with my buddy Tony, and on the way back, I said, we got to go on the beach. He goes, well, the waves, there's a storm off the coast. It wasn't a high tide, but it was bringing in these great waves. And I went, look at these waves. And he's like, my God, is it like that all the time? I went, no, but when it is, you really have to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's
and it's like we took like a little detour just to watch the waves come in. Yeah. It's like the sunsets in front of my house are spectacular. I tell the guests, I go, try to make it back for a sunset, please. Just try.
That's brilliant.
And when you think it's over, give it another 5 minutes, because then it explodes again with all this color. And like I post a ton of pictures of sunsets, and I always think, again, it's that crazy spiritual side of me. I go, I think of everybody I know that's passed, and I go, what's their view from up there?
Yeah,
I always say I see them in the sunsets. I look up there and I just go, my God.
Yeah.
You must be also thinking, I mean, just how many places in the world you've seen the sunset.
Oh,
yeah.
And again, it's like when I said to Father Bennett, I said, everybody told me, knock it off, it won't take me anywhere. I went, you look at my passport, it's like a phone book. And everywhere I went was because I didn't listen. If I had listened, I would have had a regular job. I probably would have had a life, been divorced a couple of times, still drinking. Yeah. I'm guessing I'd be miserable. I wouldn't have had this life.
You could have vested at the Bell, the New England Telephone by now.
Yeah.
You're a big regular at the Red Hat. They would have known you forever.
No, I would have died alone in my room.
In a rooming house above.
But it's just, I've had this amazing life. Plus, I get to do these great fundraisers and work with people and meet my idols. And I meet sports guys. I did a camping show with Charlie Moore and DJ Hazard was the other comic. And the two athletes were Bill Lee and Mark Fidrich.
Oh, my God.
I shared a tent with Bill Lee. And I'm telling these guys, I said, you don't understand. You get the call for the show. And it's like, hey, you and Bill, Mark are going to go. And go, oh, okay, that's great. I said, I get the call. I'm in 6th grade. And I'm like, my God, I can't believe this. I'm going to call everybody.
Oh, my God.
And just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That is great.
And politically opposite.
Charlie Moore's a great guy.
Great guy, and his energy level is that all the time.
Really? Another positive guy too.
Yeah, great guy and self-made. No one gave him anything.
Yeah.
I
mean, that show, it's a Mad Fisherman, if you don't know it, Jay.
No, I didn't,
It was where he started out, and it's just a regular guy having fun out there fishing.
And people took to him because he's identifiable. He's a regular guy.
Yeah.
And we did the show, it was Roughing It. And it was two comics, two athletes would go camping and they'd do these physical challenges and stuff. And, you sit around the campfire and shoot the breeze and talk about stuff. And we just had such a blast.
Bill Lee, shoot the breeze all day.
They're talking about, what would you be if you weren't what you are? And Mark Fridge is one of the sweetest human beings I ever met in my life. And he goes, I'd probably be working for the town, nothing major. And just...
Did he just die, Mark Fridge?
He died a few years back.
Damn.
Yeah, bad accident.
Yeah.
Really bad accident. And but just a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Like everyone would call their managers and agents, and he'd call his dad for advice.
Yeah.
And I mean, he never changed who he was. He was the same guy, just more successful. You know what I mean? He just was that guy. And so he says that, and Bill goes, I'd probably be like, an OBGYN, I get to bring, children into the world. And I went, plus you still get to go high and inside. And everyone's just dying. I went, that's not going to make the show, right? That's not going to make the show. He goes, I want the outtake. But we just had a blast. And I get to do these crazy, crazy things that, I've exceeded anybody's expectations of where I would wind up in life.
Jesus.
But the nicest thing is, I've got the cops from Cambridge that I used to run around with them chasing me. I do benefits with them now. I do fundraisers with them. I do community outreach and addiction stuff. And
we always
the same thing with Winthrop. It's like we went to 1510. We took the police boat. I felt like Sonny Crockett. It was like, I'm going, this is great, man. Everyone's strapped except for me. This is awesome.
And Joey, I think I probably met you when we were doing stuff for the Fisher House, probably. And you were always
with Michael.
Jumping in with the troop stuff, which you always do. Joey Carroll is on Twitter at TVS Joe Carroll.
TV's Joe Carroll.
TV's Joe Carroll. And at funnyjoey.com, and you will have all the links, all this stuff on as well. So we could go on and on here. We're gonna get
this has been so much. How much time have we done?
I don't know. I don't even know.
I don't know.
But I mean, we could just shoot the.
Wow.
For
this is awesome.
I know.
You know what? This has been so much fun.
It's been inspirational for me. You have a great outlook, and I love your approach to life. So so thank you very much for sitting down and
this
talking
is great.
to a stranger like me.
Everyone is a friend you haven't met yet. They really are. And you'll find something in common with people. Even if someone you don't like, you go, he loves his mother. You know what I mean? There's something to identify with. But the Twitter handle, the best part about that is the TV's Joe Carroll. I'd had that for a couple of years. The show The Following came out with the serial killer Joe Carroll. So I got all these crazy people following me, thinking I'm that guy, TV's Joe Carroll. And then they're disappointed. They're disappointed that I'm not the scary guy, the funny guy.
It's been awesome, Joey.
So much fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, all right, everybody. We will talk to you in a bit. We're gonna have we'll have all the info on Joey Carroll out, and we're gonna get Joey back, and we'll talk. We gotta get you and D'Angelo in here again at some point, and just we can just sit back, Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we have shared stories about one of the worst gigs we've ever done. It's hysterical.
What's a hint?
A fundraiser to help somebody out. Doing no good deed goes unpunished.
We'll get to that. Look at that, Joey Carroll. Thank you. Jay will grab next week. We may have Steve Sweeney next week. I don't even know what's going on next week. Anyway, look for us on IShould've-did-more-reading.com, on Twitter at Should've-did-more-reading, Instagram, all that stuff. The website may or may not be working, and we will see you next week.